Welcome back to the channel. It's a beautiful Saturday afternoon here in Northern California, and I'm out in the garden, and there's tomatoes growing still, and okra is still flowering, and we have some peppers, some cherry tomatoes. I mean, we have a lot of produce still growing here in the garden, but I know that we're going to be getting really cold here soon, and if I want to get some of the fall crops in, I need to take advantage of things now. Unfortunately, our entire garden is eaten up with sort of half-growing leftovers and crops like tomatoes that are petering out. And I want to reclaim that space, and I also have to get new fertilized soil here in before it gets too rainy and soggy to do any work in the garden. So I'm gonna have to bite the bullet today and clear out the garden. So I'm gonna be cutting down everything in there that I don't want to keep growing and clearing out the ground cover cloth, removing the irrigation system, and setting up a couple of composting cages that I need to get into the ground before the rain starts. And this is sort of the painful time of year. You see some plants that you know could keep growing if they were allowed to, but you have to make some tough choices in the garden so that you can have a successful year next year. And I need to get a lot of stuff done here in a short amount of time. So I'm gonna go ahead and just grit my teeth and start tearing everything out, and hopefully it'll all work out in the spring. The first thing I need to tackle is this mulch pile I have in the backyard. It's not a compost pile yet, but I've just been dumping all the debris from the garden and the yard here all year, and now it's time to do something with it because I'm going to be adding a lot more stuff from the garden to a lot of green stuff. So I need to build a couple of compost cages. We're just going to be using some leftover horse fence that we have floating around and making sort of columns and putting that in so that we can start, in the very least, so that we can start controlling the mess back here, because I've been looking at this and watching it break down and just kind of sit there, and it's time to do something with it. And now is a great time because I'm going to be putting a lot more green stuff in it and grass clippings to get that sort of composting process moving forward. All right, we got the compost bin set up so we can start receiving more green material. Now we're gonna start tearing out the garden. I think I'm gonna start with the tomatoes and peppers. We're gonna harvest everything we can find, and then we're gonna pull them out and deposit them over into the compost bins. Well, that didn't take too long. I ran into a problem. When I put up these tomato walls in the spring, I used cable ties. So after an entire summer out in the sun, the cable ties are now rotten. So I'm gonna have to go back as I'm going and pulling the tomatoes off and wire up the hog panel, or the cattle panel, to the post as I go, replacing the cable ties. And then I can tear out the tomatoes without worrying about messing up my my panels. So more work. There's always something new in the garden. Well, that's about it for today. We were able to pull out a lot of the tomatoes and the other vining things that were left over. I went ahead and left some of the okra so that the pods could keep developing and we could get some good seeds out of those. That's actually Jing orange okra. I know that's pretty popular, so I try to keep seeds for that for trading on Facebook and whatnot, but just a couple things left in the garden. You know, those okra seeds that are ripening up, a couple of pumpkins that I'd like to get a little bit bigger. Otherwise, we got everything pulled out. We got our composting bins set up so we can start working those. And you know, probably tomorrow or the next day, I'm gonna start tearing up the weed fabric, and we'll get another load of compost in here so that we can start planting the, I don't want to call them the winter vegetables, but getting things ready for the spring. So I think we made a lot of progress today. I'm pretty pleased with it. So hopefully give you an idea what you need to do to get your garden ready for the winter and put to bed before snow or frosts or rain start in your area. Well, we finished cleaning up the garden for the winter. There's a few more things that I need to do. I need to have some more topsoil and compost put into the garden so that I can till it in and get it ready for next year. But otherwise, we've gotten the place pretty well cleaned up. I was able to remove the ground cover cloth and do some weeding and remove a lot of the extra junk and weeds that's been floating around in the yard. And then I was able to move the fruit trees that are going to go up to my parents' house in the new garden plot. You may have seen those videos. And you know, we're just getting the yard all cleaned up. So it's been a long few years. We're finally seeing some of the fruit of our labor, and we're going to be able to transfer a lot of our big efforts like the fruit trees and whatnot to a different site, and then get back to just gardening here at the house. So I'm pleased. It was a lot of hard work. My knee's a little sore, but that's the price of paying for gardening and doing some homesteading, even on a small context. A lot of hard work. So Wendy and I are already talking about having 2 rows of tomatoes next year on these trellises, and then planting some sweet potatoes and some fava beans and a few other things, getting ready for next spring. And we're excited for that, and stay tuned for those episodes as the winter progresses. So that's about it. 2 days, long weekend, lots of work done in the yard. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Roaming Homesteaders. If you like our channel, please subscribe and click the bell so you're notified whenever we release new videos. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.